Hi, and welcome to another Flutter tutorial. And today I want to share about HTTP request package. So the following application is basically a simple dictionary application that pull API or application programming interface data from the free API website. So you can look at the website. You can search for the free API through the public APIs. And here, one of the API, basically a free dictionary API that allow for us to retrieve data about English dictionary. So the dictionary I'm looking here, basically the free dictionary. And it is very important for you to look into the authentication, into the additional information here. For example, authentication. So we need to make sure that the authentication is no. If there's an authentication required through API key, you might need to obtain the key first before being able to use the key. And then the second thing that we need to look is the request through HTTPS, which we need to prepare the HTTP call through the HTTPS protocol. So the free dictionary here is quite simple to use, as we can see from the tutorial given here. So the basic syntax for the API to work is just by using this link and put in the word at the back. So for example, if we put the API key, the URL for the API, let's say, put it, welcome word that we're looking for. So it basically will spill out, the following, what we call as a JSON data. Okay, so those you can see, even though it seems like gibberish, this is basically JSON data that usually written by an API call. So if you want to make sense of the data, you can use JSON editor online, such as from here. So you need to copy first everything and put everything there. And then just, if you want to see the structure of the data, which is being written by the API. So this is basically the JSON data. And usually the JSON data, it can be like simple JSON data, or it can be very um, complex JSON data. Like for example, the one that written by the dictionary here is quite complex, which consists of quite depth of the data structure here. So you can see through table, which is allow us to access the structural of the data. So as we can see here, there's a the written data here can be accessed through the following. So we can see the data, for example, it written one item only because we are looking for the word welcome and it matched with the API database. And then there's an index array 0. And then we can go details with the index 0, and it comes with the following properties: word, phonetics, meanings, license, and source URL. And each of the details here can be accessed through the use of data structure array. So for example, here through phonetics. So if you go into phonetics, this is basically contain another array list, which we can access more details regarding phonetics. For meanings, if you want to look for meanings, we can go to the meanings, and then here it basically retrieve a number of meanings, and which we can use that in our application. So we can just go more deeper here with the definition, with the synonym, with the antonym, if there's an available data for the word. All right, so it seems it is quite complex in a way. However, if you look at the simplest API, like for example, the one that mostly, for example, like the one that I use in the class, we can just look somewhere. There's so many API here. Sometimes the API is working, some of the link no longer work. So you might need to check first. You might need to, like for example, the random fact, or random dot. Just look for one of the random stuff or something like this. So it require API key. But like random useless fact here. It's quite fun to use. For example, that you can just use the random fact here and put at the end of the random fact, and basically will spill out you the fact of the day in JSON data format. So if you take that data and dump it here, and then you can see that the data can be quite simple data, which consists only an object here. Then we can just straight away access the data. All right. So coming back to the application, to the application that I want to talk about in this video. So as you can see, this is a very simple application which consists of a text field with a button and with an output at the bottom down here, which display the meaning of the word. All right, so maybe I need the meaning in not just service result, but I can just put meaning. So that basically comes from, right? So yeah, meaning. You can just use meaning, and then that basically describe about the output here. So it consists of the following widgets tree, text field, button, and this is actually a card. Within the card, there's a column, column, and with another text inside here, which consists to input. So what we require, for example, like before I show the application first, let me like war. Search about war. What is it? War means. So organized large-scale armed conflict between countries or between national ethnic, so something like that. The war was largely between Sunni and Shia militants. So those are basically some of the spill out data that retrieved. Something else, let's say Hungary. Right, so this basically spill out affected by hunger, desiring of food, having a physical need for food. Example, my kid go to bed hungry every night because I haven't got any money. All right, so those are basically just a very simple dictionary. All right, so how to develop this? And definitely, this will require for us to use a library to retrieve the data from the API, which is a HTTP library. But here you can see also there's a number of others interesting output that come out from the application itself, such as the loading there. These are the progress a notification there, and then there's a pop-up text at the bottom down here called found. So this is also another library that I use, or we use it to toast the application. All right, so how the application actually works. So let me just put this away. The application basically just a very simple one-page application, which actually consists of main method and run the stateless widget. And inside the stateless widget, we can have the material app. And this one title for the material app can be just like my dictionary. And then the themes for the material app, and the home, which then pointed to another class called my homepage, which is a stateful widget. And inside the stateful widget here, then we build our our scaffold, which is the UI for our application. And there are one text editing controller here, and with two variable, one definition and one example for our variable. And the build UI here. So this is basically a very simple UI for it to as you can see. the whole scaffold here is set to center with padding, and the child for padding is column. So this is a column on its own. And then we have inside the column, we have a text field, we have an elevator button, and then inside underneath the elevator button, we have cart. And inside cart, we have another padding just to provide small padding there. And then inside padding, we have columns. So this is all column. So which is basically for text. And the first one, text for meaning. This one for meaning. And at the bottom down here for the definition itself, or meaning. And here for example, so this is text for example. And down there for the example variable. All right, so those are very simple UI. And then the button search here, which implemented through the elevator button, which implement on press, and then we call on press method at the bottom. So the on press method basically implement, as you can see, there's a progress dialog, which is a library that you can just get call end dialog. Okay, you can look into pubdev and look for end dialog and install get the end dialog push into your project. Another library that require here is called Flutter, and this is the text that pop up at the end of the search. And another library that you need to install is HTTP, get the latest version. All right, so once we declare our progress dialog, and then show the dialog by using the object and show, then get the text from the controller and build the HTTP request URL by using the URI parse, which will convert the string that we have here. This is the default string. If you remember from the URL that we use. Where is it? We can just use, or we can just copy paste the link from there. Okay, so those are the link, and then we can just put our text at the end here, whatever text that we want. So the API is this, and whatever text that you want to search for, we need to put at the end of the URL. So we use the $text variable that we get from the text editing controller. And then we implement the HTTP request through get method. And then we check first the response status code that we retrieve from the request. If it equal to 100 means that the response is okay, success. And then we parse the data that we receive from the response.body, which is actually the data that we receive from the API. Okay, so when we receive the response from our HTTP request through our URL here, and then the response will return back to the application. And when we check the status code equal to 100 means that it is a successful return. The data can be retrieved from the response.body. And then we need to decode the data because the data is in JSON data type, and then the data will be decoded into array. However, the array data type here is a dynamic array, which is depth array. Then we just dump this as a parse JSON data that we receive from the JSON decode response body. And then we assign or we retrieve the data and assign to the first one. We want to get the definition. So the definition basically can be retrieved from the parse JSON array here, from array index 0, and then with string meanings, index 0 again, string definitions, index 0 again, and finally definition. So if you remember back the JSON editor here, the way that the JSON editor works is that we need to really understand the depth or where do we retrieve actually the data. Let me just do something about the screen here. All right, so if you look at this, means that, for example, at the first one, let me just Okay, so parse array, so means that this is array index 0, which is the first one. And then we need to go to meanings. So we need to go to meaning. So this is the meaning. And then we need to go to index 0. So this is index 0. And then we need to go to definition. So this is definition. And then we need to go to index 0 in the definition. So there's an index 0 in the definition there. And then we need to go to index 0 for the definition. And then finally for the definition itself, which is this one. Okay, so you get that definition array, which is quite deep. And then we need to convert the data because this data is an array data. And then we need to convert that to string. So we just convert everything to string. It goes the same with the example. The example basically can be retrieved from parse JSON array 0, okay, 0, and then go to meanings, and then we need to go to array 0 again, and then we can just go to definitions. Okay, go to definitions there, and then we go to example. Okay, so array index 0, and then we go to the we go to definitions here, and then we have where's the example? It's supposed to be down here somewhere. So we have the definitions, this one. We can just check what we have here. Somewhere we have the example index 0. Yeah, it's supposed to be somewhere down here. Definitions 0 example. First one we do have the second we do have example, but it's supposed to be example that, but we might need to check the full structure here. It's supposed to be there. The example is supposed to be there. But you might need to check that properly. So we have definition there, the antonym, the synonym, definition, so on also this one. But the name part of speech, do have example here. Okay, but the array that I get is from here. Example, it's supposed to be example in the first one. Sometimes you do get the example, sometimes they don't have. So you might encounter some of the search that we search here, they don't have. Like, let me just try to look for hungry. Let me just try to look for hungry, because that's just basically some of the written data. They're not returning anything. So when they don't return anything, so we can just check out those entry. Hungry. Sometimes they did, sometimes they don't. So this is for hungry. So let me just dump everything into my JSON data and then dump that back. All right, so for hungry, you can use tree, or you can use table. Actually, you can just tree, and then we look at meanings, definition. All right, this one got example, as you can see here, array 0 with example. But if you get the array 1, they don't have example. Array 2, they don't have example. Array 3, they do have example. So you might need to aware of that. Okay, certain API, they don't have that. You might need to check on that. Right. All right, coming back to the application. So we retrieve the data for the definition and for example, and that's basically assigned to both variable, as you can see here. And this one just to log and just to show what we retrieve in the log console. And down here, this is photos. Okay, so photos, this is basically from the pub dev. So this is straight from the pub dev and put it here. But I'm not quite sure. I didn't print out the background color as green. And then it's basically just show a very simple toast. If not found, then I just show not found. And finally, dismiss our progress dialog. So which basically will dismiss the progress dialog that we have, right? So whenever we look for a text, basically we'll pop up that, and then we pop up the toast. Okay, action given to provide assistance or aid. Example, I need some help with my work. Let's say um, mock. Okay, an imitation usually of lesser quality, and then you can see that in some of the data, some of the written data they don't have example. And a mock, no, they don't have that, so you might need to clear. If you don't found anything, maybe you want to clear. So let's say not found. I just say there, you can see not found. So if not found, you might want to clear definition and example back to empty. This one is for found. If not found, so we might want to reset. We want to reset and then set everything back to empty, and also goes with the example so that we don't find any irregular there. So just set state to refresh means that there's no data. And then we should be able to see the result. So because put the set state there. Okay, so let's say, let's try that one more time. So you can see done, none. Here maybe the card here. So you might want to wrap with container, because usually container will take the width of the screen. If we can just use screen width, but I'm not quite sure why it didn't able to do that. You can just use with media query get what the length, but let's say like 300 or 400 pixel just to get us started. All right, so we don't have the words there. We can use container, we can use size box, it's up to you. All right, so that's basically how the application work, and then it's quite simple, and it's basically a simple dictionary that you can give it a try and learn for your Flutter journey. All right, I think that's all for this time. Have fun coding, and bye bye.